Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I hope all of you are doing good. Please make sure to let me know in the chat box if the audio part is clear and screen is visible to all of you. If the music in the background is too loud, once again, please make sure to let me know. Last time we had a few issues with the music in the background, but so yeah, this is going to be a very important live stream, so I definitely don't want to miss out on anything. Loud and clear, perfect. So, how is everyone doing? First of all, I would like to welcome all of you, to the live stream. Please make sure to, like the live stream. Please make sure to subscribe the YouTube channel if you have not already subscribed. Make sure to turn on the notification bell. Uh, I have basically linked my Discord server and my Twitter channel just in the description of the live stream. So please make sure to follow me over Twitter as well. If I show you guys, uh, I make sure to regularly, post updates and sometimes calls as well over my Twitter account. So yeah, please make sure to follow me over Twitter. The handle is called Sherlock, and you can join my Discord server as well. I regularly share updates and my analysis and calls, etc. over my Discord channel, over my Discord server. All right, so let's start the live stream. So uh, this live stream, it's not really going to be about the price predictions for BTC, but we are only going to be focusing over Ethereum, right? Because this is a hot topic. As you guys would know, the first Ethereum spot ETF just got approved almost 39 minutes ago, and the price action, it has been slightly tricky. I can absolutely understand that most people, they're confused about what exactly is happening. We are not going to talk about what exactly an ETF is. You should have a basic understanding of what exactly it is, but we are going to talk about the impact of these ETFs in a longer run, and what exactly the price action it's going to look like in a smaller run and a longer run. Okay, so if you guys have any questions related to this, or if you do not understand something, if it's a basic question, once again, please make sure to drop it in the chat box. I would be taking the questions. ETH to $2. Okay. Yeah, we would be talking about all the possible scenarios. So yeah, make sure to drop your questions in the chat box. I will try to get back to you as soon as I'm done with the update part. Okay, so the first thing that I would notice, since I'm majority of the times I'm only focusing on the chart part. Okay, so that's where I would be starting with. I repeat this statement over and over again that most people believe that whenever there is some fundamental news, technical analysis, it would simply just go out of the window. It would have no particular significance. But that's not really the case. Every possible information that you would need regarding a particular financial instrument, it's always available right in front of you on the chart, because that's where the emotions, they are basically reflected, right? This chart, this candlestick chart, it's just a reflection of what exactly is happening in the background. It's just a reflection of human emotions, how exactly the humans are behaving. So let's first of all understand what exactly is happening on the chart for ETH. We would be taking a look at the USDT dominance chart. We would be taking a look at the ETH BTC chart. We would be looking at the chart for Ethereum's leverage tokens as well, and try to understand what exactly could be the impact of these ETFs. Okay, so yeah, so the first thing that you would open, the first thing that you would notice as soon as you would open up the Ethereum chart is this trend line, right? So I have been mentioning this about the trend lines. I recently shared an update over my Discord server and the Twitter channel, Twitter account as well, that sooner or later price is going to break below this trend line. Okay, whenever you would see this kind of trend line being in formation, it's not just about Ethereum, it's not just about Bitcoin, it's not just about just about the crypto assets. Whenever you see these type of trend lines in formation, you need to be aware of the fact that sooner or later price is going to break below the trend line. It's going to be a very impulsive move downside. I would explain the reason. Uh, some of you would have already heard this statement that whenever you see these sort of trend lines in formation, there is a significant amount of liquidity generating below these trend lines. Now, what exactly is the meaning of this? We have this trend line information. The majority of the people, the majority of the people who are beginner traders, they would see this trend line information and they would start taking a long trade. For example, we know that in order to have a proper trend line information, we need to have at least three possible touches. For example, we had the first touch, the second touch, and the third touch. As soon as people saw these two and three touches, they would start taking long positions. Okay, and as the result, price would start going up. So you have people going long around here, and by the way, this is also a horizontal support, meaning that people are definitely going long around here. So you would have people going long around here. They would be, where exactly would they be placing the stops? They would be placing the stops just below these lows. People would be going long around here and placing their stops just below the previous lows, and that's where that's just the obvious place where the majority of the people, they would place their stop losses below the previous lows, or below this support area. Next, you have another bounce happening. People would be placing the stops below the previous low. Then you have this fourth or fifth bounce, I guess. People would be placing the stops below this low area right here. And then you have the subsequent bounces in which all these people who are taking long positions, all these people who are taking their buy positions, they would be placing the stops below the previous lows, which means that there is a significant amount of liquidity generating in this area. There is a significant amount of sell stops placed in this region. Okay, you have two categories, right? You have buy stops and you have sell stops. In this case, people are taking buy positions, people are taking long positions, meaning that if the long positions, they would be stopped out, if the long positions, they would be closed, then in that case, selling would be taking place. That's why we call them buy stop. That's why we call them sell stops. So you have a significant amount of sell stops being placed in this region. Okay, and that's what creates a significant amount of liquidity. I'm not going to get into the details of what exactly liquidity is, what exactly the concepts related to liquidity, but it's the same concept that is being applied to equal highs and equal lows as well. Just like people would see these equal lows being in formation and they would start taking long position and they would be placing the stops just below these lows. People would be seeing the equal highs in formation and they would start taking short position and they would be placing the stops just above those highs. People would be seeing these sort of trend lines being in formation and they would start taking long positions and they would be placing the stops just below these lows. And finally, there is this another type of trend line, for example, this one. People would be seeing these sort of trend lines in formation, okay, and they would be taking their short positions. That's what the immature people do. That's what the beginner people, they actually do. They see these sort of trend lines in formation. They would say, okay, price is rejecting off this trend line, and they would start taking their short positions, and meaning that all these people, they would be placing their stops above these highs, meaning that there is going to be a significant amount of buy stops placed in this region. And what the market makers do, what exactly is the model that we are talking about? What exactly is the model that we are practicing? Just a few minutes ago, over my Twitter account as well, I posted that price sooner or later is going to break below this trend line. It would eventually fall down to some higher time frame support. The first higher time frame support is down at 3350 zone, and the next higher time frame support, it's down at 3250. Now, understanding this entry model, it's very important. Whenever I'm teaching my students, and just to inform you guys, just to inform the viewers, we have our mentorship batch starting in the next week. Price, it's extremely reasonable. We have kept the price down to maybe $250. All of you should be able to afford it. The mentorship batch, it's starting basically next week. It's going to be an extensive training. It's going to be based upon like 40 to 60 different lectures in which I would be teaching you guys all of these different concepts. Okay, so you guys can simply just click the link in the description to my Discord channel, open up a support ticket, and you can join in the registration process. Okay, you can simply just register for the mentorship program. It's going to be very beneficial for you guys. So coming back to the entry model around here, this is basically an entry model, right? If I show you a theoretical schematic for this, for example, you have this trend line information. Okay, always remember this thing, and you have price bouncing off this trend line. Then in that case, price bouncing off this trend, and even if it is an uptrend information, then this would mean that there is a significant amount of sell stops being placed in this region. Now, what eventually would happen is that, if I explain to you in the simplest possible terms, what eventually would happen is that price would fall down to some higher time frame support, and this is going to be a very impulsive breakout. Always remember this thing. I would be explaining this in terms of the opposite trend line as well, and this trend line as well. Okay, this is, remember that whenever price breaks below these sort of trend lines, it always happens to be a very impulsive break. For example, if I open up the USDT dominance chart for you guys, you can actually see that. You would see countless examples of this over and over again. Just open up any chart, just draw this trend line or the opposite of this trend line, and you would see whenever the breakout happens, it is always a very impulsive breakout. That's why I was saying over and over again during my live streams also that most probably 53k, 58k, it's going to be the bottom, because we had this trend line information on the USDT dominance chart. As soon as price broke below this trend line, you can actually see that this was a very impulsive breakout. Okay, so similar is the case with the Ethereum chart as well. Whenever you would see this sort of trend line information, remember that it's going to give you a breakout downside, and it's going to be a very impulsive breakout. Now, what exactly is the reason for this impulsive breakout, and what eventually would be happening? Just like I mentioned that all those people who are taking the buy positions, all these people who are taking the long positions, they are placing their sell stops below these lows, which means that there is a significant amount of sell stops placed in this region. Now understand it from the perspective of three different categories, right? You are taking a long position around here, you have your stops placed below these lows. You are taking high leverage long positions, and you have your liquidation prices play below these lows. And then you are taking your long positions and you are playing without any stop loss, and you have a very comfortable liquidation price. Now, as soon as price would start breaking below these lows, these high leverage positions, they would start getting liquidated, meaning the sell stops, they would be triggered, which means that a chain reaction would be happening. Sell stops getting triggered, which means that aggressive selling would be taking place. Okay, the first category of people are who are going to get liquidated. As soon as the liquidations would be happening, long positions, they would be liquidated, meaning that the selling would be taking place. As soon as all these buy positions, as soon as these long positions, they would be getting stopped out. As price moves down below, selling would be taking place. Once again, the price would move impulsively downside. And finally, whenever people would see that price is moving downside, price is breaking below this trend line, they would be panic closing their positions. Just understand it from the perspective of what exactly you would be doing in a similar situation. You would see this trend line information, you have a buy position, obviously you would be panic closing your position. So all these three categories of people, they would be closing their buy positions, meaning all these sell stops, they would be getting triggered, meaning that an impulsive chain reaction of selling would be taking place, meaning that the price would impulsively move downside. And that's why whenever these trend line breakouts happen, they are very impulsive downside. And what exactly is the entry model like? Now, whenever these trendline breakouts happen, remember that all you have to do is just go to a higher time frame. What exactly is a higher time frame? Starting from the 4-hour time frame, going all the way up to weekly time frame or the monthly time frame. Then you would draw a higher time frame support area around here. And remember that 90% chances there are that price would eventually fall back down to some higher time frame support, and that's where the real bounce would be happening. Okay, now the reason for this is whenever you see these regions, whenever you see whenever you see a significant amount of liquidity generating in a region, remember that market makers, institutions, they would be looking at these regions. For example, all market makers or institutions, they had to do was just drive the price or just make the price break below this trend line. If you do not understand what's the definition of liquidity, it's simply just the ease of buying and selling. Remember that the institutions, if you are playing with a couple $1,000 or even $1 million, you wouldn't really have, until and unless you are trading, as long as you are trading on some liquid exchange, as long as you are trading a liquid pair, you wouldn't really have any, problem executing your trades, okay? Because you would be playing with a smaller capital. But always remember that whenever you have bigger capitals, you have a bigger responsibility and you have bigger challenges as well. For example, a market maker or institution who is playing with, for example, $1 billion capital, they cannot just buy and sell at any price, right? They cannot simply just buy and sell at any significant price. So, they need to trigger a liquidation event. They need to trigger a chain of reaction. They need to, for example, trigger all these sell stops, meaning that remember that for every buy order that is being placed in the market, that is happening in the market, there needs to be a sell order on the opposite side. If you are to execute a buy order worth $1 billion, there needs to be $1 billion worth of selling taking place on the opposite side for your order to be executed. It's as simple as that. If there is not $1 billion worth of selling taking place on the opposite side, there your buy order, it's not going to get executed. That's the simplest possible definition, right? Liquidity is simply just the ease of buying and selling. So if you have $1 billion capital, let's suppose you're a market maker, you saw the ETF getting approved, you are supposed to buy into Ethereum, but you know that, okay, everybody it's bullish, everybody is bullish on Bitcoin, right? Everybody knows that, okay, the ETF, everybody is bullish on Ethereum's ETF. They know that eventually price would go up, maybe create a new all-time high. But people are taking high leverage long positions. People, they do not have much amount of patience, right? So they would be panic closing their positions as soon as they would notice price going down. But once again, you have $1 billion worth of capital. You need to buy into Ethereum, but you cannot do that because nobody is selling. If nobody is selling, then how exactly would you be buying? Similar was the situation that happened back when on 10th of January, when the ETF for Bitcoin got approved. Okay, we went from $45,000 little bit up to $49,000 region, and then we went all the way down to $38,000. That's where the majority of the people, they got liquidated, they got stopped out, they exited their position, meaning that the selling was taking place. At 45,000, let's suppose the 9th of January, if you are a market maker, if you are an institution, you know that, okay, every single person in the crypto space, they are bullish on Bitcoin, they are bullish on Ethereum, and they are holding their capital, they're holding their BTC, they're holding their Ethereum. And if nobody is selling, who would you exactly buy from? Similar is the situation that is happening as of now as well. Okay, if everybody is bullish on Ethereum, and if everybody is buying into Ethereum because they're bullish on Ethereum, then who exactly would you be buying from? Because you would have to buy $1 billion worth of Ethereum. You cannot do that. So you need to trigger significant amount of sell stops. You need to generate enough amount of liquidity, which is only possible if there would be enough sell stops getting triggered. If there is on the opposite side, if there is $1 billion worth of selling taking place, and only then you would be able to execute your buy orders. And that's why you would see that market impulsively first takes out all these sell stops. And let's suppose that the market makers and institutions, they would have their positions, they would have their entries placed around here. And that's where all this bigger chunk of positions, all the positions of market makers and institutions, they would be triggered, and eventually price would start going up. It's as simple as that. That's how basically the markets react. So this is an entry model as well. For you guys, whenever you see this sort of trend line information, always remember that price would eventually fall back down to some higher time frame support, and that's where the bounce would be happening. Okay, so in this situation also, you have price following this trend line. And I mentioned this few hours ago in my Discord channel as well, that the worst part about the current price action on Ethereum is this trend line, because you have a trend line information, which means that all these people, just look at the bounce here. Just look at the bounce here. All those people who noticed this trend line information, they are definitely taking their positions, and that's how the price is bouncing. The reason that price is bouncing off this trend line is because the retail traders, or the majority of the people, they are taking their positions at this trend line, but they are not significant positions. These are not intelligent people, these are not intelligent traders, these are not intelligent investors, and that's why they are not able to drive the price significantly upside. That's why you are seeing very smaller price movements, and eventually what would happen is that eventually price would fall back down. Eventually price would break below this trend line, take out all the sell stops placed below these lows, and then it would eventually fall back down to some higher time frame support, and that's where the bounce would be happening. Now, the big question is that what exactly is the higher time frame support that we are talking about? Okay, this is the most important question. And in order to understand this, we have couple different options. The first one obviously is that we can draw Fibonacci retracement level. So far these bounces, they are basically happening at the Fibonacci retracement level. For example, if I draw these waves for you guys, you have this impulsive wave, you have this corrective wave, then you have this impulsive wave, and then you have this corrective wave. Okay, now once again, I'm saying this thing, I would love to see price going up to 3600. I would love to see price going up to 3800 and even 4000. I would love to see price not breaking below this trend line. But I'm just explaining to you what exactly is visible right in front of me on the chart. What exactly happens in these sort of similar situations. Okay, so you have this impulsive wave, then you have this corrective wave, then you have this impulsive wave, which means that if this is an impulsive wave, then we can definitely make use of Fibonacci retracement levels in order to find out where exactly this retracement would be happening. Okay, so if I draw the Fibonacci retracement in this impulsive wave, I notice that the first bounce happened off 70.5% fib level. The next one also was back down to 70.5. The third one down to 70.5. The fourth one also is down to 70.5. Now, we are definitely not talking about the impact of the fundamental news. Okay, let's just keep aside all of those things. I'm not an expert on ETFs. I'm not an expert on how exactly Ethereum functions. I'm an expert on price action. Okay, so let's understand this once again from the perspective of price action. Remember that whenever we talk about a level, be it a support or be it a resistance, when price is hitting into a level over and over again, we have absolute no metric to define that okay, price is now going to break above this resistance area. Some people claim that they can look at the price and tell that okay, it's now going to break above the resistance area, maybe looking at the volume, maybe looking at some momentum indicator, maybe looking at some other price action indicator. For me, the only possible way that you can do, you can actually tell, first of all, there is no 100% guarantee that you can say that okay, price is going to break above this resistance area or price is going to break below this support area. One way that you can actually tell this is by looking at the price action. Okay, and how would you do that? Whenever price is hitting into a level over and over again, and the bounces or the rejections, they are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, then this eventually means that that level it's going to break. Okay, for example, if you have a resistance area around here and price starts hitting into this resistance area over and over again, and the retracements, they start getting smaller and smaller and smaller, that's when we actually say that okay, price is now going to break above this resistance area, because the sellers present around in this region, they are simply just losing the interest. You had the first rejection, which was a big one, you had the second rejection, which was not that big, and then you had subsequent rejections which were not too big. Okay, and this is my friends exactly the definition of an ascending triangle as well. Okay, if somebody comes to you and they say that okay, these chart patterns, they are simply just random drawings and they do not have any meaning, I make sure to teach my students about these chart patterns and make sure to tell them the complete logic behind these chart patterns as well. These are not random drawings. It's completely up to you if you wish to understand these random drawings or if these chart patterns from the perspective of price action or from the perspective of chart patterns. If you would look at this from the perspective of chart pattern analyst, you would say that okay, this is an ascending triangle information. But at any cost, you need to understand what exactly is happening, what exactly is the logic behind it. The logic behind is that whenever price is hitting into a resistance area over and over again, and the retracements, they're getting smaller and smaller, then this would mean that the sellers present around in this resistance area, they're simply just losing the interest and price eventually is going to break above. Okay, similar is the case with this trend lines as well. Similar is the case with this support area as well. And you can actually see that we are not able to break above, and we are continuously hitting into this region. And the retracements, the first time the retracement was big, the second time it was not that big, the third time it was not that big, and the subsequent retracements or the subsequent bounces, they are not happening to be big enough, which means that the buyers present around in this zone, they're simply just losing the interest. And similar is the case with the ETH BTC chart as well. Once again, I just keep repeating this thing over and over again that I would love to see price going up. I would love to see that price breaks above 38k resistance area, 3600 resistance area, and then goes all the way up to 4000. But we need to pay attention to what exactly is happening right in front of us on the chart. As of now, you have this trend line information, which is not a good thing. Okay, and price would eventually fall back down. One way that you can look at the price action and say that, okay, where exactly the bounce should be happening is by looking at this impulsive wave right here. Okay, but once again, the next thing you need to pay attention to is to move to different time frames. It's not just about the 4-hour time frame. You need to go to the higher time frames, for example the daily time frame, and look at different waves. For example, if I move to the higher time frame, then I would notice that, okay, on the higher time frame, this was the start of the impulsive wave. Okay, and this is basically happening to be the end of the impulsive wave. If I look at this thing, then obviously the retracement should be happening at least down to 3250 zone. Okay, the reason I'm very much interested in 3250 zone, if we break down below, although we have this first support area at around 3350, but the reason I'm very much interested in this zone particularly is because, first of all, the first retest of this zone, it's still pending. Okay, the first thing is that the retest of this support area, it has not happened, meaning that there is every possibility that price could retrace down to 3250 level, and I would love to see this happening because the first retest of this area, once again, it's still pending. This is one thing. The second thing is that on the daily time frame chart, you would notice that if you would draw the Fibonacci retracement levels, you would notice that these fib levels, they are perfectly aligning with this higher time frame support for which the retest has not happened. Remember, if you guys have been watching some of the previous live streams, you would know that you would actually know that I was mentioning that there is high likelihood that price would eventually go back down to 50, 53k, 54k levels, and that's where the bottom is going to be. Because the first retest of 53k, 54k levels, it was pending. I was mentioning the same thing over and over again, even when price was trading around 71,000, 70,000, 73,000. I was saying that the main thing that I'm concerned about is that the first retest of 53k support, it's pending. There are huge imbalances present around in that area, and the first retest, it's always your best opportunity to trigger a buy and sell position. Okay, and the first retest happened at 53k support. I did the live stream and I mentioned that, okay, this is the first retest. It is your single best opportunity to buy BTC around these prices, because 90% chances there are, and 90% of the times the first retest, they're always successful ones. Okay, you can take countless examples, you can take multiple examples. For example, price breaks above this resistance area, this is your first retest, it's a successful one. Price breaks below, this is the first retest, it's a successful one. Okay, price breaks down below, this is the first retest, it's a successful one. Okay, so you would have multiple. Price breaks below this resistance, below this level, turns this into resistance, this is the first retest, it's a successful one. So the first retest, always remember, it is your best opportunity to execute a buy and sell position. And in this case, if the first retest at 3250 level happens, I'm telling you over and over again, this is going to be the single best possible chance for you to execute a buy position around in these levels. Okay, if only price returns back down to this area, because we have fib levels perfectly aligned, and then we have the first retest of this higher time frame support area, which is still pending. Okay, it could be a huge wick downside, it could be just a sustainable move or sustainable selling taking place. The reason I say sustainable selling is because of Grayscale's Ethereum fund. Okay, when the ETF for Bitcoin got approved back on 10th of January, we saw this retracement happening down. We saw this retracement happening down to 38k level, 38k support. Many people blame it on the charts. For example, they say that the first retest at that time of 38k support, it was pending. Okay, I always say this thing, that nature works in mysterious ways. All these people, be it a fundamental analyst or be it a technical analyst, all of them, nature would be feeding both of them different reasons. Okay, and all of them would eventually be saying that, okay, that's how the price action developed, that's how the price went back down to these levels. So somebody looking at the charts would have said that, somebody like me would have said that, okay, the reason price went down to 38k support was because the first retest of that level, it was pending, and finally there were huge imbalances present around in this area. That's why the price went down to 38k support region, back in January, back on 24th of January. But somebody looking at the fundamentals would have said that, okay, Grayscale had their spot ETF, Grayscale had their Bitcoin fund, which got converted into Bitcoin spot ETF. And they were the single largest entity holding the most amount of BTC at that time. They had like 650,000 BTC, and they started reducing their holdings. People started cashing out their positions. People started selling their positions, and they reduced their holding just in like few months. They reduced their holding from 650,000 down to like 360,000, meaning that the huge amount of selling took place. So similar is the case right here as well. In this case, Grayscale, they have their Ethereum fund, which just got converted into spot ETF fund, which means that if Grayscale, once again, they start selling, and just to give you a number, just to give you an idea about that, Grayscale holdings are worth like around $9.2 billion, which means that if they start selling, you would have a price retracement definitely happening down to maybe 3,200 or maybe down to 2,800 levels as well. ETF, but you need to understand that ETFs, just like it happened with the BTC case, they are significant, they are important, they are bullish in a longer run, but it's not like you would see a huge god candle going all the way up to 4,000 or 4,500. I just posted something over my Twitter account as well just few hours ago, that if you thought that, if you believed, or if the majority of the people believed that, okay, the ETFs, they would get approved and price would go up, okay, ETF would get approved and price would go up, then they would go up on 23rd of July, then they would eventually be buying on 14th or 15th of July. Okay, they would not really be buying on 23rd of July. If you believed that something is going to happen tomorrow, you would start buying today. If something bullish is going to happen tomorrow, you would start buying today, and eventually as a result, price would start going up today and not tomorrow. Okay, so similar was this thing. Similar thing unfolded in my personal opinion. The similar thing unfolded with the Ethereum's ETF as well. People, all these people, they thought that, okay, price would eventually go up on 23rd of July as soon as the ETF would get approved. And as a result, they started buying, which obviously meant that price started going up, and now price is sitting where exactly it should have been sitting at, right? At these resistance levels, and it's failing to, break above. That's why I posted the question that what exactly are you guys expecting from the ETF approval? What exactly should be happening? What exactly is your take? Because, if you are expecting a huge candle, upside up to maybe 4,000, that obviously is not going to happen, because who would exactly be buying as soon as the ETF gets approved? All those people who were bullish, they already bought their positions, and that's how the price moved from 3,000, from 3,100 all the way up to 3,500, 3,600. Okay, if you believed something is going to happen tomorrow, if something bullish is going to happen tomorrow, you would be taking action today and not tomorrow, obviously, and as a result, price would eventually start going up. Okay, so keeping aside this fundamental discussion, coming back to the chart part, you have the first retest of this support pending. This is the first thing. You have this trend line information, which means that there is every possible chance that price would start breaking below, and it would eventually fall back down to some higher time frame support. It could be this one or it could be this one, but the major confluences, they are aligning in this direction. Okay, we can use this small pullback wave as well. The reason I'm using this small pullback wave is because if you would turn on the dynamic lines, you have the quarterly VWAP, and remember that the first retest of quarterly VWAP, it's still pending, meaning that the first retest of quarterly VWAP, it could be happening, and price may eventually fall back down to 65% fib level if you use this small fractal. If I move to the higher time frame, for example, let's stick to the daily time frame chart, then in that case, there is every possibility the first retest of this quarterly VWAP on the daily time frame has been a successful one. The second retest has been a successful one. The third retest could also be a successful one. Okay, so once again, price could fall back down, and if price has to break below, if price has to come down below to this support zone, it needs to break below this quarterly VWAP as well. Okay, which is not going to be too good of a thing, because if you would look at the historical price action, you would notice that price gives huge amount of respect to this quarterly VWAP. For example, the first bounce happened, it was a huge one. The second one, also a huge one. The third, fourth, and the multiple retest was, and it took some time for price to break below this quarterly VWAP. And eventually, when that happened, it was a very impulsive breakdown side, and we we continued to be bearish for quite some time, and then we eventually went back up. Then the first retest was successful, one third, fourth, and then there was multiple retest. Okay, so if you are looking to buy, as soon as the trend line breaks, then your first bet, it should definitely be at this quarterly VWAP, okay, which is somewhere around 3387 level. That's the first line of defense. The second line of defense, obviously it's going to be this area around here, and there is high likelihood that price would eventually fall, price would eventually bounce from here. But just for having some stink bids, just for having some extra confidence, what you can do is that you can have some buy orders placed around 3250 levels as well, because so many confluences are present around in this region as well. So these two levels are where I'm expecting price to go down to. It's not something that's very, I would say, unlikely, because we were trading at 3430 just a few minutes ago. That level is just like 40-50 dollars down, which means that when the trend line break happens, it's not going to be a level that you would say is extremely unlikely to be tested, because when the price breaks below this trend line, just like I mentioned, that it should eventually fall back down to some higher time frame support. What's that higher time frame support going to be? This is that higher time frame support, okay? And the 4-hour quarterly VWAP, it's also perfectly aligned with this region. And finally, let's use this Fibonacci fractal that is playing out around here, this successful Fibonacci fractal, to see where exactly the price could be going down to. It's very important to take into account all these different confluences. If I use this Fibonacci fractal, this impulsive wave, start of impulsive wave and end of impulsive wave, then once again the second level or the second confluences are present around the very same support that I just talked to you about. Okay, so if you would ask me personally, where exactly price is headed toward, is it headed towards 3370, 3350 levels or 3250 levels? I would absolutely say that there are 50% chances. 50% chances that price would go back down to 3250. But whenever it happens, even if price goes all the way up to 3600 and then eventually falls back down to 3250, or even when price goes all the way up to 4000 and then eventually falls back down to 3250, I'm telling you that somebody just dropped me a question in my DM just few hours ago, that they were not able to buy Ethereum at sub 3000 level. So where exactly they should be buying it at? My immediate response was yes, I would drop the limits as soon as I'm able to spot some good confluences. And if you are still sidelined, then in my personal opinion, you should be buying around 3250 level. It's not that important when price would fall back down to these levels. It may happen today or it may not happen in next 6 months, but this would still remain a very important level, because on the daily time frame chart, you notice that you have imbalances present around here. You have an order block present around here. This is definitely an order block because it gave rise to a break of structure. Remember that the order blocks, they're only valid if they give rise to break of structures, right? So you have order block, you have a break of structure, you have this Fibonacci fractal playing out around here, you have daily Fibonacci fractal, then you have quarterly VWAP on the daily time frame chart present somewhere around in these levels, which means that it's definitely a very good spot. And then you have the yearly VWAP as well. Okay, so whenever price goes down to these levels, mark my words, you need not to worry about anything, and then you should immediately just buy around these levels. Okay, so that's my take on the Ethereum chart. Now let's quickly take a look at the ETH BTC chart as well. Okay, because once again, that's also a very important chart, and I would say an area of concern as well. Okay, so we are looking on the 4-hour time frame chart. I would try my best to keep things as simple as possible. Okay, so this is a chart for Ethereum against Bitcoin. Okay, for those of you who don't know, ETH BTC chart, it basically represents the strength of Ethereum against BTC. Okay, it's a very simple chart, meaning if price would go up, it's positively correlated with the ETH chart, meaning if price would go up on the ETH BTC chart, Ethereum, it would simply just be outperforming Bitcoin. Okay, if it starts going down, Ethereum, obviously it would not be outperforming BTC, and it would be weaker in comparison to BTC. Now, if I go to the higher time frame, let's suppose on daily time frame chart, you would notice that we are definitely sitting on this higher time frame support. Okay, and we are, so far by the look of it, we are creating a deviation move around here. Okay, now if this happens to be a deviation move, I would definitely say that Ethereum is going to go up. Okay, but the first thing that I immediately noticed looking at this chart is this is a higher time frame daily support. Okay, you had the first retest, remember once again, the first retest, best opportunity. I don't know how many of you are paying attention to this, but I have been using this strategy for the past 6 to 7 years, and it has been extremely successful one. Okay, you see that, okay, price breaks down below the first retest of this level, first, second, third, successful one. The price breaks back above, turns this flip zone into a support zone, gives the first retest, it happens to be a successful one, bounce happens, the second one, bounce happen. Okay, so the first retest, it's always the single best opportunity for you to execute a buy or sell position in this case. But the important thing that you would notice on the Ethereum BTC chart, and once again, it's positively correlated. Whenever you have negative correlations, whenever you have complex correlations, that's where things get a little bit complicated, but it is extremely easy to understand. It's extremely easy to comprehend this chart. You can basically measure the strength of Ethereum in comparison to BTC. If it goes up, Ethereum would go up. If it starts going down, Ethereum would start going down. Okay, and the reason I'm looking at all of these charts, it's not just important to look at the BTC chart. It's important also to look at the USDT dominance chart, because USDT dominance, it's negatively correlated with Bitcoin. It's also important to look at the Ethereum's leverage token chart or Bitcoin's leverage token charts, because they could be positively or negatively correlated with BTC. The reason we do this all the time is because it's not humanly possible to open up a chart and be able to identify the future, be able to identify or be able to predict the future movements every single time. It happens. I have been looking at these charts for the past 7 years. I spend almost 18 to 19 hours every single day looking at these charts, but still there are movements, still there are instances when I would open up these charts and I would look at all of these charts and I would be absolutely clueless about what exactly is going to happen next. It's absolutely, you know, it's absolutely an acceptable thing, right? You would open up sometimes in your trading journey as well, at some point you would open up a BTC chart, you would open up the Ethereum chart, and you would have no clue about what exactly is going to happen. And it's absolutely fine, okay? In those instances, in those cases, what you would do is that you would open up a few other charts which are going to be positively and negatively correlated with Bitcoin or with Ethereum. And that's where you would try to make some predictions. That's where you would try to make some forecast, okay? And all those forecasts, they would be reflected back on the Bitcoin or Ethereum chart. So in this case, if I'm clueless about what exactly is going to happen on the Ethereum chart, I could open up the ETH BTC chart and I would try to predict the future movements around here. So in this case, the first thing I notice is that price is sitting on this higher time frame support. It just goes out without saying. And until and unless price breaks down below, we should not really be saying that, okay, Ethereum, it's bearish, okay? Price is bullish as long as it's sitting on a support. Price is bearish as long as it is trading under a resistance area, okay? But we can definitely, just like I mentioned at the very beginning also, you have a few metrics. I do not claim to be able to say that, okay, looking at the volume, I would say that, okay, price is going to break below this support. But just by looking at the price action, by looking at these bounces, you should be able to tell if price is going to break below or if price is going to break above a resistance area. In this case, you had the first retest happening and the bounce, it was huge, meaning the buyers, they were interested in this region. You had the second bounce happening, the second retest happening, it was not that huge. And then the third bounce happening, it's not happening to be too big of a retest, which means that the buyers present around in this area, they're simply just losing the interest. And like I mentioned, like the statement that I mentioned at the very beginning also, whenever you see price hitting into a level over and over again, and the rejections or the bounces, they are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, then in those cases, you would say that, okay, that level, it's about to break, okay? And this is the definition of an ascending triangle or a descending triangle as well. Once again, I would not just say to you that, okay, That's how a descending triangle looks like, or that's how an ascending triangle looks like. Okay, that's how a double top or double bottom or head and shoulder or inverse head and shoulder chart pattern looks like. I would give you the complete reasoning, I would give you the complete logic behind as well. Okay, so the logic behind descending triangle is this, that whenever price is hitting into a support over and over again, and the retracements they are getting, or the bounces they are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, meaning that this trend line starts forming, that's where people say that okay, this support it's about to break. Okay, and this is the exact same thing that we are noticing around here as well. Okay, that these retracements they are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which means that sooner or later, at least by the look of it, sooner or later price is going to break below this level. And I absolutely do not like the fact that price has given multiple retests of this support area, and those retests they are not happening to be successful one. The first one it was huge, the second one it was just only 50% of the first one, the third one is happening to be only 50% of the second one, which means that price seems to be breaking below this support. And if it breaks below this support, Ethereum would eventually fall back down. Okay, and what exactly would be the levels that it would fall back down to, we would be looking at that as well. But as of now, you have a deviation move also happening. Okay, I have explained deviation in some of my previous live streams also, but if this happens to be a deviation move, if price successfully goes up somewhere around here, and if you happen to have a move like this, okay, just keep an eye on the ETH BTC price action as well. If we happen to have a move like this in which price goes up and then gives a small retest at this area, that's when you would know that okay, this simply just was a deviation move, and Ethereum is now headed towards 3800 and then eventually 4000 region. Okay, because this deviation move, it's simply just to trap the sellers. Okay, but if price, it's still too early to say, because we are looking on the daily time frame chart, there are still 9 hours for this candle to close, and anything could be happening. Price could start breaking down below, and now if it just goes up like this, then gives a small retest at this level, that's going to be your best opportunity to buy into Ethereum. Once again, you would be placing a stop below this low, and by the way, you can trade the ETH BTC chart as well on Bybit and on Binance as well. Okay, so it's not like we are only analyzing this chart. Obviously, you cannot trade the USDT dominance chart, but at least you can trade the ETH BTC chart. Okay, it's simply just the chart for Ethereum against BTC. So in that case, that's going to be a very good opportunity to buy into Ethereum. So you would be keeping an eye on the ETH BTC chart. If price gives you a move like this and gives a retest, that's where you would eventually open up the Ethereum chart, and then you would buy into Ethereum, because you would know that okay, ETH BTC, it's giving you a very beautiful deviation move. But if it starts breaking below, I would use my favorite tool. There are instances where I absolutely love to use Fibonacci levels. And what are those instances? When price impulsively moves in one direction, and when there are huge wicks upside or downside. In this case, you have both of these things. You have huge wicks on the upside on the daily time frame chart, and then you have an impulsive move creating so many imbalances, which means that I would definitely love to drop Fibonacci levels from this swing low to this swing high. And in that case, 65%, 70%, 78.6% fib level, that's where I would be interested in buying. Okay, and you can actually see that these levels, they would eventually be aligning with some higher time frame support area. Even if they are not, these are the levels that I would be interested in buying. Okay, so if ETH BTC starts breaking below this support, and as soon as it gets down to 65%, 70.5% fib levels, that's where I would open up the Ethereum chart and I would start scaling into my Ethereum position. Okay, need not to talk about the dynamic lines, it's absolutely the same thing. Even if you would move to the 4-hour time frame chart, the daily time frame chart, I did the same analysis, I posted the same analysis over my Twitter account as well, that all of these dynamic lines, and by the way, these are not simple dynamic lines. Okay, these are very important ones. You have quarterly VWAP, and you have yearly VWAP, you have non-anchored and anchored quarterly and yearly VWAP, then you have the MTF EMA, multi-time frame exponential moving averages. And so far, as you can see, if I zoom in a little bit for you guys, they have been giving price a strong rejection. Okay, if I turn off all of these lines, first of all, you can actually notice that if I focus only on this quarterly VWAP, okay, you can see that the price bounced off this quarterly VWAP the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, then price eventually broke below this quarterly VWAP. And this was your indication when price started breaking below the quarterly VWAP. this should have been your indication back on 20th of July that price on the ETH chart, it's going to have a major pullback. Okay, it's going to have a major pullback. Okay, so if you would open up the ETH BTC chart, you would notice that back on 19th and 20th of July, price started breaking below this quarterly VWAP, and now it's trading under this quarterly VWAP, and it's giving the first retest. First retest, once again, a successful one. It happened to be a successful one. Price had a strong rejection of this quarterly VWAP, and exactly that's the reason I'm saying that it's not going to be easy way up to 4,000, because we are still trading under most of these dynamic lines, under some major resistance area. That's why it's not going to be an easy way up to 4,000, because ETH BTC chart, it's still trading. It just broke below this quarterly VWAP on the daily time frame chart, and now it's trading under this quarterly VWAP, not just on the daily time frame chart, but on the 4-hour time frame chart as well. And it's not just this anchored quarterly VWAP, but we have a few other dynamic lines as well, okay, which price is just directly trading under. So that's why I would be a little bit careful as long as price does not break above and gives me a strong confidence. Okay, and by the way, all these dynamic lines or dynamic levels, they are meant to be treated in the very same way as you would treat a horizontal support and resistance area. It's not like they're less important. It's not like they are not likely to play out. They are very likely to play out. For example, in this case, you can see that ETH BTC went up to 0.5276. That's where the strong rejection happened. And on the Ethereum chart as well, we went up to like this area, 35.33. That's where the strong rejection happened from. Okay, so you can set an alert on these charts. You can simply just look at the ETH BTC chart or the Ethereum chart or whatever chart you're looking at, which is positively or negatively correlated with the asset that you are looking at. You can set alerts on those charts, and you can try to predict where exactly the price would be headed towards. Once again, I would like to request all of you, and now I would be taking the questions. I would like to request all of you to please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please like this live stream. We have 50 plus viewers watching the live stream. It's a good milestone for me. I would really appreciate if all of you would simply just like the live stream. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to go into the description and follow me over Twitter and join my Discord channel as well. I have my mentorship program just starting next week. We have launched amazing discounts for our for our Discord members. So yeah, it's going to be a very good journey. If you wish to learn with me, the mentorship, it's starting from as low as $250. We are teaching all of these concepts. I'm personally taking live one-on-one lectures over Discord. I would be teaching all of these things live to all of you guys. So yeah, please make sure to register for that mentorship program as well. Okay, I would really appreciate if you guys would follow me over my Twitter account as well. Now let's take a few questions. Already subscribed. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of you who subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure to like the live stream as well, and make sure to share this live stream as well. Thank you. Let's start taking the question. It's already been 1 hour since we started. Sherlock even has some custom made dynamic client scripts. Yeah, I definitely have a few custom indicators. For example, these quarterly and yearly VWAP indicators, some are anchored ones, some are non-anchored one. For example, MTF, EMA, and there are a few others one as well that I regularly share with my students. I regularly share with my Discord members. So yeah, these dynamic lines, these dynamic indicators, they're extremely useful. And I'm just playing around with the concept of averages. I absolutely love the concept of average and the concept of Fibonacci level. So any idea that I think that might be useful, I try my best to develop an indicator on that. 19 indicators. I'm mainly using a few of them, like yearly VWAP, MTF, EMA, MP VWAP, then moving average one, then VWAP. Like 90% of these are just dynamic lines. Then this one I'm not really using. VIX percentages, once again, it's just an indicator to measure the percentages of the VIX. Like if this is the VIX, how much percentage of this candle is composed of VIX, okay? Because this helps me to identify 50% demand supply zones. The rest of the indicators, they are not really that important. Harmonic pattern live, I was just experimenting with this one. Anchored VWAP, once again, anchored VWAP, VP, I don't know what exactly is this one as well, I don't really use. Spaceman BTC key levels, I sometimes do use this indicator. This simply just tells you what exactly was the highest price on Monday, what exactly was the lowest price on Monday, or you can turn on the weekly levels or daily levels or yearly levels as well. Okay, so any of these indicators I'm using, most of them are simply just based upon the concept of averages or volume weighted average prices or just any useful indicators. None of them generate buy and sell signals for you anyway. Your analysis of the market is phenomenal, sir. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. Once again, I would really appreciate if you guys would subscribe to the YouTube channel. These live streams, they would continue like this. I would be uploading more educational content for you guys. It's not like we only give content over Twitter or over Discord. I would be uploading the same content over my YouTube channel as well. Okay, the same educational content. So it's going to be available for free for all of you. All you have to do is just simply subscribe to the YouTube channel. Okay. When you say the mentorship starts at $250, does that mean there are different levels? Yes, they are. We have basically divided. It's basically lifetime mentorship program. That's the most important thing. And I get a couple of people recommending me that you should maybe price mentorship at some higher level, like maybe at around maybe like 2000, 3000. But I want to make sure that everybody participates into it. People participate, people are able to learn, and at the same time it's not free, because if it's absolutely free then people would not pay attention to it. And in our mentorship program, it's not just about these live lectures, it's not just about these indicators, it's about that I try my best to give access to every possible resource that I can. For example, I ask my students to any book that they would like me to buy, any book that they would like to read, and I make sure to buy for them, and I make sure to give them access to that book. I make sure to give access to any indicator that they would like to try on. I make sure to give them access to any other possible resource that they would like to try on. Okay, so it's a very beautiful community. I have like 100 plus students already registered in it. So the live lectures happen every single week. Those are very interactive sessions, interactive sessions. And by the way, it was not like this before. We only used to have one. We used to only have that like one level. But now, in order to make sure that everybody is able to participate into the mentorship program, we have basically divided it into three different categories. We have the beginner basic program, then we have intermediate program, then we have an advanced program. Okay, so even if you would look at the course outline that we would be sharing with you, all you have to do is just simply go to the description of this YouTube live stream, join the Discord server, open up a support ticket, and we would be sharing the complete course outline with you as well. Even in the module, even in the beginner course, you would find that there are going to be like 40 to 50 different lectures. There are 40 to 50 different topics, like from support, resistance, trend line, chart patterns. And in fact, I do have the course outline for mentorship open right in front of me. So if I open it for you guys, you can actually notice that even in the 1 second, let me. Okay, so even the beginner level, we have um, watch list creation. How would you be creating the watch list? You would have the key cryptocurrencies that you would be monitoring. You would have a criteria that you would be selecting, that you would be using in order to select all of these coins. How do you select the time frame? What's the importance of choosing the right time frame? What are the different time frames that you can choose? How to select all of these coins, coin selection, trading with different confluences, how do all of these indicators work, candlestick pattern analysis, what are all of these candlestick patterns, what's the meaning of open, high, low, close, basic candlestick pattern, advanced candlestick pattern, introduction to support, resistance, and then demand, supply zones and everything related to it, importance of retest, introduction to trend lines and chart patterns, how to identify all of these things, how to trade them, how to develop a strategy based on them, how to identify the order blocks, breaker blocks, what are the practical applications of them, what's the importance of fundamental analysis in crypto trading, what's spot trading and investment, how to select the coins for spot trading and investment, what exactly is the importance of leverage trading, how to select the proper risk to reward ratio, risk management. So even in the beginner course we have all these things, and we have an intermediate level course, then we have the advanced level course as well. Okay, so all you have to do is just simply subscribe, just join the Discord server and open up a support ticket, and we would share the complete course outline with you. We would be publishing this over our Twitter account as well, but yeah, so far it's still in the process of creation, uh, but the program is starting next week. So yeah, please make sure to just register with it. Yeah, it's completely up to you if you wish to wait for 3250 levels, or wait for price to go down to maybe 3350 levels or 3250 level. Thank you so much once again. Thank you so much for joining in. Can you take a look at some altcoins like PEP and WLD? We already have a long trade or spot trade open on WLD. Um, the reason I have not really given long on PEP is because, and by the way, just to give you guys an idea about this, WLD is going to have a token unlock possibly today. So yeah, make sure not to overexpose yourself in this spot position, okay? The reason I have not shared the trade for PEP is because it has not come down to my level of interest. Okay, if I share the chart with you guys, oh, it's going to be 1000 PEP. Okay, so that's where actually I'm expecting the price to come down to. Let me turn off this indicator. WLD, we already have a spot set up on WLD, and with PEP, I would at least wish to see price coming down to this support area, because the first retest of this support, it's still pending. And if you draw the fib levels from this swing high to this swing low to this swing high, price should be at least retracing down to these levels. And then there are huge imbalances left behind in this area, and then you have a 4-hour order block as well. Similar is the case with the daily time frame chart as well. So I'm not going to buy any higher than this area. So I would definitely wish to see that price at least returns back down to these zones, this support area. This is a higher time frame daily support, and as long as that does not happen, I'm definitely not going to bid PEP. Okay, WLD, we have a good setup in WLD. Let's see how it plays out. Where it is, WLD. Okay, here it is. So you have a nice double bottom in play, which is being formed on this higher time frame support. You have neckline, which should be retested. You have the 4-hour time frame support. You have the structure changing from a bearish trend into an uptrend on not just on the daily time frame chart, but on the 4-hour time frame chart as well. You have a change of character happening. You have 4-hour support. You have a 4-hour order block as well. So ideally, if the token unlock, thing that does not just ruin all of this, then obviously in my personal opinion, WLD should be a very good setup. A long on PEP, Neil. Okay, so yeah, you can definitely continue with it. Neil obviously should have another reasoning for going with that long position, but for me, it should be at least retracing down to that daily support that I just told you about. Okay, so do we have any other questions? Does Sherlock do this for living? Yes, sir. I do this for living. I look at charts for living. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all those who subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Once again, if you guys have any questions related to this, then please make sure to drop it in the chat box. I'm just looking at the questions. This is Nick again from Foxian Group. What would your stop loss be on the equal highs, lows, simple man strategy? Thank you so much. Yeah, so we have a simple man theory. Whenever you would see these equal highs in formation, you would take a short position. Whenever you would see equal lows on the chart, you would take a long position. Now, what exactly your stop loss should be? Let's suppose that you have equal highs around here. Okay, as soon as the second candle closes, you can place your stop a little bit above both of these highs. Okay, but ideally I would recommend that just place a little bit far away from both of these highs, not immediately above those highs, a a little bit far away from both of those highs. Okay, similar is the case with the lows as well. So in short, in the case of equal highs, your stop loss is going to be placed just above those highs, and in the case of equal lows, your stop loss is going to be just placed below both of these lows. Okay, for example, if I open up the chart for ETH, uh, if I open up the KuCoin chart, and it's going to be the weekly time frame chart. Okay, so in this case, you can actually see that you have equal highs, you had equal lows around here. What you could have done is that you could have simply just taken a long position as soon as this weekly candle closed, and you could have placed your stops just a little bit far away from both of these lows. Okay, it's going to be a very good risk to reward ratio trade for you guys. I absolutely know that by doing so, you are basically just adding to the liquidity which is present around here. But still, in my personal opinion, I have seen this playing out extremely good. Okay, so you would be placing a stop just below these lows, not exactly below these lows. So even if price goes down a little bit, VIX a little bit, you are absolutely safe. It's going to be a hard stop loss, by the way. It's not going to be manual stop loss, it's going to be a hard stop loss. So you need to be a bit careful with it, not just directly under both of these lows, or just directly above those highs, a little bit far away from those highs or lows. Okay, that's where your stop loss is going to be, and you can simply just target the next region ahead. Okay, if you would open up the BTC chart, BTC Binance, let me open up the spot chart for Binance. USDT.P. Okay, so if you would open up the daily time frame chart, you would actually notice that you have basically two equal highs placed around here. Okay, so what you could have done is that you saw these equal highs in formation. You should have taken a short position, placing your stops just above these highs, a little bit above these highs, and you could have enjoyed this move downside. Okay, so that's how you use a simple man theory. What about the massive? Yeah, I just talked about the token unlock thing. It's not massive. The number could be massive, but it's only going to be like 12% of the total supply. That's what I was just warning people about. That WLD, it's going to have a massive token unlock. Probably it's today. I'm not sure about the date, but yeah, that's why you need not to overexpose yourself too much. But it's a very wrong perception that the token unlocks, they're always bearish. So you never know if a token unlock, it's going to be bearish, if it's going to be bullish. So majority of the people, they anticipate that if a part of the supply, it's being unlocked, so it's definitely going to be bearish. No, it's not always like that. Okay, we would have a separate live stream discussing the possibilities uh, that may present themselves as soon as a token unlock happens. They are not always bearish, they are not always bullish. So you need to look at a few different dynamics in order to judge. Okay, it's 11 million per day for a long time, but I got you. Thank you, man. Yeah, once again, all of those WLD's entry just got triggered. That's why I'm warning people that if you are a little bit too overexposed in that trade, we are still at the entry price. Make sure not to do that, okay? Because it's not going to be a life-changing trade. Obviously, since I do not pay that much of attention to the fundamentals, somebody pointed out this to me just yesterday as well. I'm glad they pointed this out, and that's why I warned people that it's not like a life-changing trade. It's not like a trade which is going to be giving you a 2x immediately. The chart is looking good. If you would look on the daily time frame chart, if you would look on the 4-hour time frame chart, you have this neckline breakout, you have this double bottom pattern being in formation, you have this first retest of this 4-hour support happening, which overall looks like a good set of confluences to me. Once again, the chart looks good. I don't really know if the token unlock, they may play a bearish role, but so far the chart looks good to me. Okay. All right, guys, thank you so much. That's it for today. Once again, thank you so much for joining in. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, make sure to like the live stream, and make sure to join the Discord server as well. Okay, all the links, they are in description, to my Twitter account as well. Make sure to give me a follow over Twitter as well. Okay, thank you so much. Take care. and have a great week ahead. See you guys probably on Thursday or on Friday. Okay, thank you.